I ultimately think we're going to see a real shock in terms of how high consumer prices are going to rise.
Why do you think that a recession is coming? Just how bad is it going to be?
I think it's going to be pretty bad, and whether it starts in 07 or 8, I think is immaterial. And I also think it's going to last not just for quarters, but for years.
There's a good chance that they're going to push this as far as they can. I mean, until the dollar has completely collapsed, and then they just can't get away with it anymore. I mean, most people don't want freedom. They don't want individual liberty and limited government. They just want to have stuff, you know, and that's the mentality. So there's real losses that a lot of Americans are going to suffer as a result of the dollar's decline.
When the only constant in life is change, you need to be ready. This is the Man-Made Survival Show.
All right, so I want to go ahead and show you a video while I talk about this, because it really shows how hyperinflation works, right? And it's going to really reinforce what I was saying about the dollar being strong over there. All right, so in Venezuela, the minimum wage, which adds the basic salary and mandatory food voucher, went for 450,000 to 800,000 bolivares per month. That is equivalent to $4.60 at the official exchange rate, and that's as of April 29, 2020. Okay, so as I read that, you saw the video that there's this lady who has stacks, over 60 stacks of money, and all was represented in a $5 bill. All right, that's how the inflation works. And people in Venezuela only get paid $3 a month, and sometimes less, depending on where they work, I guess. So now I want to go ahead and move this to gold and silver, because this is going to show how, in this, I'm going to have to start with Peter Schiff. You know, I'm sorry, Dave Ramsey, but you lose on this one, because we have real-time data where people are living day to day, and they do use gold and silver to trade, to be able to, trade into the currency that they live in, to be able to buy the goods that they need. So here's the other charts. So please stay all the way to the end. I know numbers can get boring very quickly, but it's very important that you understand this, because if you can start go ahead and accumulating gold and silver, if there's an economic collapse, you're going to be able to buy the things that you're going to need. Because let's remember, okay, before I get into the charts, we believe, or there's a really big belief in the prepper community, that once the economy collapses, there's no longer a government. And Venezuela has proved that that's wrong. Zimbabwe has proved that that's wrong. You know, all these other examples that there is in history proves that it's wrong. Right? The government doesn't go anywhere. It's just broke. And it's either get bailed out by other countries who are doing well, or they just somehow mustered a new currency, and then things go back, quote unquote, back to normal. That doesn't mean that it went from being, let's just go back, and it didn't mean that Greece turned into a different country. It's still Greece. It just has a different system within the government. Germany didn't go away, right? It's still Germany, but it has a new system of government. If the United States collapses, it doesn't mean the United States is going to go away. All right? It doesn't mean that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and McConnell and Paul Ryan and everybody else, they're going to go away. More than likely, they're not. What would happen is that they would come together. They would, get bailed out probably by other countries, and then they're going to establish a new currency. How long would it take? No idea. It has taken Venezuela over 7 years because of the U.S. sanctions. But if the U.S. sanctions were not in place and we were not trying to topple them, how fast could they have already gone back to being, quote unquote, back to normal? They have brought down the inflation back to affordable levels. We don't know. We don't have that data because the U.S. has manipulated that with sanctions. Now, how long would it take for our government to bring out a new currency backed up by gold or whatever it is? It might take several months, maybe a year or two. And if you don't have the money, you don't have the gold and silver, you don't have the preps in place in order for you to take care of yourself and your family and your alliance, then you're going to suffer the consequences for not doing that. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the gold and silver. All right, and when I talk about these, I'm going to show you their prices and how big they are, okay? Because I had a conversation with a friend a long time ago, and we were talking about gold and silver. And he really thought that gold and silver were, these massive amounts of rock that you have to carry with you all the way around if you were going to flee the country and stuff like that. And I said, no, you don't get it. You don't understand. You can get enough gold and silver that is about this big that would be worth, over $10,000. That's if you have the money for it. But the point is that you can actually flee the country with that stack of gold. You go to the other country, and now you have their currency, and you're doing pretty good because you got a head start with it. Instead of starting out of zero, you're starting up here, and then you can try to move things around to where you can get an apartment, a car, and all those things. That's just with a pocket full of gold and silver. And once I showed him the pictures and everything like that, then he kind of understood what I was saying. So that's what I'm gonna be doing here. So we're gonna go to Venezuela once again, and I'm gonna give you the prices of how much a kilo is worth, an ounce, a troy ounce is worth, and a gram of gold is worth over there. How big they are and everything. Now, first we're gonna start with a kilo. In Venezuela, 1 kilo is $98,542,171,536.91. And as you saw in the picture, it's not very big. Yes, it's a little bit heavy, but it's not very big. Okay, you can hold it in both hands, just one, and carry it with you. But if you have some type of, cart or something like that, you can move it around. But the point is that you can have plenty of it and just exchange it back and forth as you see fit. The next one is 1 ounce of gold, all right, which in troy ounces is 31.1 grams. That is worth $3,065,004,146.22. And as you're seeing on the picture right there, it's not very big. It's actually a very, very small amount. 1 ounce of gold is not big. Okay, that's what we have to see and understand. If you have that in your pocket, and you go to Venezuela and you trade it in, you just become a billionaire in Venezuela. Now let's move on to 1 gram, because 1 gram is even smaller than that, but it's still worth a lot. 1 gram of gold in Venezuela right now is worth $98,542,171.54. So this is why you have to collect gold and silver. This is the reason why I side with Peter Schiff rather than Dave Ramsey on this one, okay, and say that Dave Ramsey is wrong. The government is always going to want gold and silver, so at least they are your I guess you can say your traders that you're going to be trading with, so you can get the currency, okay? Because the people in Venezuela, they're still trading in bolivares. They're still buying stuff. They're still doing all those things. Now they're going to digital currency, but it's still bolivares and it's still worthless, So now let's move on to the U.S. How much is each of those here in the United States? 1 kilo of gold, as you saw the picture already, that is worth $59,358 in the United States. The price of gold per ounce, which is the troy ounce, which is 31.103 grams, it's $1,846.24. And then finally, the gold price per gram is $59.36. All right, so that is really important because you can see that, depending on which one you can afford, you can actually accumulate a little bit at a time. If you cannot afford the kilo because, it's way too expensive, then you can move on to ounces. If ounces hurt your pocket and, you cannot really let go, like it really hurts you, then you can move on to the grams, and you can accumulate the grams over time. Okay, like I've been saying, how I've been teaching you here is that we can prepare from the last disaster. We can look at the amount of time that has gone, and that's how long you could have already been preparing. All right, for example, the last financial collapse that we had, or at least the stock market collapse, was in 2008. Even though for a certain amount of people it was affected, a very targeted amount of people were affected. If we have an economic collapse, if we have a dollar crisis, if we have a currency crisis, then it's going to affect everybody across the country. But that happened. What now? It's 13 years ago. So for 13 years, each month you could have accumulated 1 ounce or one gram of gold, and by now you have a lot of gold in your possession. Okay, so that is what I'm saying, that you right now have to take advantage from now to the moment that the economy collapses, in order for you to be able to accumulate gold in that amount of time, so you can set yourself up for a better future once that happens. Okay, now I want to move on to silver. Now, I do want to make this distinction now that I think about it, okay? The way that precious metals could work, or that should work really, is in which step of the economic ladder you're in. You know, if you're rich and you can buy the kilo of gold and it doesn't really hurt you that much, or it doesn't hurt you at all, then you can buy several of them. You can really hedge your wealth. And if something was to happen like in Venezuela, then, you know, you still have your millions, and then you can even turn into a billionaire or a trillionaire, depending on how much you get or how many. If you get ounces and you can afford it and it doesn't really hurt you, then you should do that. You know, that I believe that would be for like the upper middle class and middle class to be able to get the ounces of gold. And then on the lower middle class to the working class, maybe get the grams. And then on the poverty level and below, I believe that that's where silver comes in. Okay, that's how I believe that you can look at gold and silver and other precious metals, for you to look at it depending on your economic ladder. Because also, I don't know if you knew this, but copper and nickel also trade. You know, you can get copper coins and you can get nickel coins. You know, they're not as famous as gold and silver, but the copper ones will also trade, because we are always using copper. So depending on the economic ladder that you're in, that's what you want to buy, because of course it's going to give you the greater returns. But now let's move on to silver, because silver also plays a big major role in Venezuela. Okay, US silver, I'm going to show you the pictures as I talk about it, or excuse me, Venezuela. 1 kilogram, all right, you're seeing the size of it. It's a lot bigger than gold, but look at the price, or look at the price tag on it. 1 kilogram of gold is equivalent to $1,414,937,953.17. 1 ounce of silver, as you see on the screen, it's not very big at all, and you know that is very portable and pretty light. A troy ounce would be 31.1 grams, which that is what you want to look for when you're looking for silver and gold. That is in in troy denomination, because that is pretty much what the markets trade in. That is the equivalent to $44,009,489.80. And finally, 1 gram of silver in Venezuela is worth $1,414,937.95. Okay, so now that you have looked at that, gold and silver in Venezuela in an economic collapse, or in a collapsed economy, they trade really good. If you have them, you're gonna be able to stay afloat for a while, you know, at least until you run out, and you're gonna be able to take care of you and your family and your alliance if everybody starts to stockpile the silver and the gold. Okay, and you're gonna be better off later on. Now we're gonna look at the prices in the United States, and you're gonna see how affordable they really are. In the United States, silver per kilo, it's $818.56. Again, that's $818.56. It's a big difference between a kilo of gold and a kilo of silver. Silver is a lot more affordable. Okay? And even if you have a kilo in Venezuela, you still become a billionaire. Maybe not as big as gold, but you still become a billionaire. Now let's move on to the price per ounce, which is very, very affordable. A troy ounce right now of silver is worth $25.46. You can buy that. You can buy that, you can buy multiple ounces a month. Multiple of them, and it wouldn't even hurt your pocket. The next one is ounces per gram. It's only 82 cents. Silver is so cheap that companies that mint them, they don't really sell you per gram, at least not by itself. They put, like a little sheet put together, and actually I'm going to show you a picture of that. And you can see that it's several different of them that all of them put together create an ounce. And that's how they sell it. They sell them in that way so you can actually split them apart and you can trade like that. But if you didn't, you could actually do it in one big piece and make it an ounce. But the point is that 82 cents, everybody can afford 82 cents worth of gram of silver. $25, everybody can afford $25 a month to start stockpiling silver. Right now it's not very expensive, even with the things that's going on in the stock market right now. Right now there's a shortage of silver because of what the Redditors are doing. But if all of that eventually goes away, everybody comes down, and they bring back the silver, you can start stockpiling it. And you can start putting it aside for if we have an economic collapse like Venezuela, you can become a millionaire, a billionaire. You're going to be okay, all right? Let me remind you, they get paid 800,000 bolivares per month, and that's the minimum wage. Or actually, the minimum wage would be 450,000, but that's including the food voucher, okay? Or actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do this live. I'm going to see what is the minimum wage in Venezuela 2021. It's actually showing right here that it's 250,000 minimum wage. All right, minimum wage. If you have an ounce of silver, or actually a gram of silver, you actually exceed that for many months. All right. So now I want to move on to the expenses in Venezuela. If you were to go over there and live right now, how much would it be for you to get the minimum things that they have? Now, I found these prices in the website, and I really encourage you to go look at it, because you can see how they break it down, and they have different things in there. I just grabbed a few so we can kind of look at them and kind of understand how this entire system is working in Venezuela, how the prices have hyperinflated to the point where people cannot afford them. But if you have gold and silver, then you're going to be doing better than most people. All right, so the website is called expantistan.com. And as you see on the screen, you're seeing the spelling of it. And then you're just going to look for Venezuela. And actually, I put the chart together right here. And I want to go ahead and give you those numbers. All right, so for a monthly rent for an 85 meter square, which is 900 square feet, furnished accommodations in a normal area, that is equivalent to $33,097,400. Utilities 1 month, which include heating, electricity, gas, for 2 people in an 85 meter square flat, that is $4,659,410. Internet 8 megabits per second, a month, that is equals to $1,200,830. Laundry detergent, $571,944. Gasoline, they sell it by the liter, so there's 4 liters in 1 gallon, so you will multiply that times 4, and then times 12, because you need 12 gallons, and then times 4, because that's how much you would spend a month. It would be $2,862,720. 1 box of tampons for women, that would be $215,104. Deodorant, $195,535. Shampoo, $211,230. 4 rolls of toilet paper, $151,955. And a tube of toothpaste, $71,609. And all that put together, or added up, that's $43,252,647. And once you look at it that way, it blows your mind, because let's remember, your minimum wage a month is only $250,000 in Venezuela. Now you understand why over 90% of the population are living in poverty. Even though there's things at the grocery store, all right, how much do they have to work for a tube of toothpaste, for toilet paper? All right, just with the toothpaste and toilet paper, they probably already spend their entire monthly wage just to buy those two. That's not including rent, that's not including food, that's not including anything else. That was just toilet paper and toothpaste. All right. Even if the grocery store is full to the wazoo, if you cannot afford it, you cannot buy it. All right. Now, let's go ahead and put that together with how much silver and how much gold you will need in order for you to be able to pay that expense that month. Okay. And that is going to blow your mind away because it's very, very little. 1 gram of gold would cover the cost for 1 month, plus you will still have left over $55,289,524.54. 1 gram. 1 gram in the United States is $30. You know, and actually has gone a little bit since then. But the point is that a very affordable price right now. 1 ounce of silver will cover the cost of 1 month, plus you will still have left over $756,842.08. 1 ounce of silver. 1 ounce of silver is $30 right now. Now, I want to move on to the weekly expenses because now we're going to go from utilities and rent and gasoline to go to work and all of this. We're going to move on to your food. Your food that you would be eating each and every week. 1 pound of boneless chicken breast is $208,006. 12 eggs large is $148,281. 2 pounds of tomatoes, $157,394. 16 ounces of local cheese, $252,710. 2 pounds of apples, $168,705. 2 pounds of potatoes, $77,880. A 2 liter of Coke, $93,856. Bread for 2 people for 1 day is $87,739. All of that put together is equals to $1,193,571. 1 gram of gold will cover the cost plus for that 1 week, plus you will still have $97,348,654 left. With 1 gram of silver, it will cover the cost for 1 week, plus you will still have $221,366.95 left over. Okay? Very, very important. If out of this entire video, nothing mattered to you, this should be it. Because all of this that I have put here together for you in this chart, that is everything that you can make or your own in your own backyard. You can grow, you can farm the chickens. You can have chickens in your property, which they will give you the eggs. You can have a garden that's going to give you tomatoes. You can learn to make cheese. You can have trees that will give you the apples. You can plant the potatoes. Granted, you would have to go to the store for a Coke, but you can make your own bread at home. So that's why it's important for you to prepare for food, for it to last more than 6 months, however long it is that you have. The reason that we teach that you need to have at the very least stocked up 2 years is for this exact reason. Because in Venezuela, officially since 2014, they've been in the economic collapse, hyperinflation system for over 7 years now. So once you look at it, can you last a long time with the preps that you have? More than likely, you're going to outlive, or the crisis is going to outlive your preps. That is the reason that I teach you that you have to make sure that now you take preparedness so serious that it becomes a way of life instead of just a hobby. There's plenty of Redditors out there who say that prepping like that makes no sense, but that is because they're not seeing what has happened in Venezuela in modern times, where we are headed with all the debt that we have. All right. And now that the Joe Biden administration is in place right now, they are going to be spending trillions of dollars which they're going to be spending a lot more money. All right. Biden is projected to spend $10 trillion in the 4 years that he's going to be in office. 10 trillion. All right. What I showed you in the previous podcast about the time machine, that was $50 trillion if nothing else changed with the current rates that we had. That was not including all this extra spending. So really, if you add $10 trillion to what Biden is going to be doing in the next 4 years, the final debt could probably be, 60, 70, 80 million, $80 trillion. At what point does it become so ridiculous that countries around the world are going to be looking for another currency to prop up and have it as the reserve currency? And then, leaving the United States to plummet and just go into hyperinflation. Because let me remind you what the World Economic Forum is saying, is that in the next 10 years, the United States will no longer be the superpower of the world. So what is going to happen to you and me if we don't prepare like this? Because the stuff at least at the food, Venezuelan people, if they were preppers or the preppers that are there, would have prepared in a way that they would have to withstand an economic collapse for more than 7 years, meaning that they would have to change their way of life to have a 100% self-sustained system. They would save themselves a month more than 1 million bolivares, or $1 million, which that could go to other stuff. And they could actually grow these things and sell them in the market, for a cheaper price to make it more affordable. But now that all of this stuff is grown in your backyard, you can trade it. That's where the citizens trading back and forth would come from, the bartering. The gold and silver would be with preppers who already have everything they have, or for the government. That's what you want to do with gold and silver. That is the answer. That is the key right here. So that's why it's important for you to have gold and silver in your possession right now. Well, at least not right now, because all the Redditors have gone crazy and they're buying it all out. But the point is that once the silver comes back into the market, then you're gonna have the opportunity to be able to buy it at very low prices, $30 for 1 ounce of gold. 1 ounce of silver. It's very affordable right now. Okay. Now I want to finish this podcast with this last headline that I have for you, because it shows how people in Venezuela have been struggling, and they are actually swapping out their gold and silver with pawn shops to get money back. All right. The headline is from the MiamiHerald.com, and it says, hungry Venezuelans are selling gold rings and family heirlooms just to buy groceries. Arelis Torres, a retired university worker in her 60s, walked up to the counter of a fancy pawn shop on 72nd Street in Maracaibo, Venezuela's second largest city, and placed her gold graduation ring on top of the glass. Quote, "I'd like to sell these, please," end quote, she told an employee. The man placed the ring on a scale to weigh it as Torres tried not to cry. At the end of the transaction, Torres, former manager and a library at the University of Zulia, received several thousand bolivares, enough money for flour, rice, beef, and grain to feed her family for the next 20 days. 20 days. Venezuelans sell gold and silver chains, bracelets, earrings, including pieces that have belonged to their families for decades or generations, so they can walk out of the door of the pawn shop with enough money simply to eat, at least for a while. Some customers even make visits to the pawn shop a regular thing, selling their gold chains in chunks, one small piece at a time, to manage a monthly income for food and basic economic needs. Food was also a top priority for Liliana Arreaza, a 66-year-old lawyer, when she started to sell in 2015 every single piece of gold and silver her family possessed. Quote, "I sold a necklace that my parents gave me in 1975 as a graduation present. I sold my wedding ring from 1976. I did not invest what I earned in household appliances. All of it went to food," end quote. She said there will be food on her table this Christmas, but she will have to manage without a trip to the pawn shop. Quote, "I actually have nothing else to sell anymore," end quote. And that is the sad reality that a lot of Venezuelans are living through right now. Do not be one of them. All right? Do not be one of them. You can have plenty of gold and silver that you can accumulate over the years. And even if you do not use it, even if you don't need it, maybe your grandchildren or your children and your grandchildren will need it. You would actually leave them an inheritance. And if you show them this information that I've shown to you, that it would benefit them to actually save it and not liquidate it for when there's an economic collapse, then they would be off. They would be better off. They would have enough food in their table. They would have enough things that they would need. They would have enough money to be able to make transactions. And if they have the prepper lifestyle, they wouldn't have to worry about many things because they can make their own. They can make their own food, and they could only trade and go to work for the other things that they would need, right? That you cannot produce in your own backyard. So I want to leave you with that. That's why I think that this topic is so important, because we're going to eventually get there. All right, we're going to eventually be in a position where we're going to have to make the decision. Do we stay in the country or do we go to some other country? You know, like Peter Schiff and Dave Ramsey more than likely would do if we hit hyperinflation in the United States. So let's think about all of that, all right? And let's make a plan. Let's get prepared. Let's have food, water, medicine, security. Let's have all those things that I've taught you in this podcast over the past several months into a year now. You know, our year anniversary is coming up. This entire time, all this information that's shown you is very important. So please share this with your friends and family. Subscribe to the channel, all right? Let us have a time where we can grow together as a population, as a community of preppers. All right, that is going to be the goal in the future. But first, we have to grow, and we need your help in order to do that. Please share this podcast with your friends and family. Distribute it far and wide, and let them understand why it's important for them to have gold and silver. All right, so again, my name is Jose Prado, and remember, always ready.
The Man-Made Survival Show.